at the Drum Laboratory. It's another instructional or tutorial or whatever we want to call it. Okay, I love when I say laboratory about a little corner in my bedroom because I'm poor.
There's one thing I don't want you to forget, Norton. I am the king in my castle.
I love that. Okay, here we go. Today we are talking about Don't Stop Believing by Journey, drums played by Steve Smith. Alright, Steve Smith is a great drummer. And this is a very interesting groove. It sounds simpler than it is. Usually I say the opposite. Usually I say things sound more complicated than they are, but this actually is more complicated than it sounds, which is a very cool thing. Okay, why am I using this tune? Why am I doing this tune? I'm doing this tune because I'm demonstrating open-handed playing. So if you watch this channel on a regular basis, you know this channel is not for beginners really, and you may already know what open-handed playing is, but I'm gonna go through it right now. So most drummers, including myself, use what they call crossover. I'm lefty, so left hand is my lead hand, and my lead hand plays my hi-hat or my cymbals or anything like that, and my right hand, which is my non-dominant hand, plays the snare. Right? So a typical beat for me would be this. Right? Typical beat. If you were right-handed, you would do that the opposite. You would have your right hand playing the lead hand on the hi-hat or the cymbals, and your left hand would play the snare on a typical beat. When I play open-handed, I'm going to do that same beat open-handed. I'm not going to cross over. Now, my non-dominant hand, my right hand, is going to play the lead part on the hat, and my dominant hand is going to play 2 and 4 on the snare, like this. Alright, so if you were right-handed, you would do the opposite. You would put your left hand on the hi-hat over on the other side, and your right hand playing on the snare. So your non-dominant hand would play the lead part on the hat, and your dominant hand would play the snare part. Okay, who do we know? Who can I tell you? The one that comes to mind all the time is Dave Matthews' drummer, and I always say his name wrong. Either Buford Carter or Carter Buford. I never know how that goes, but he is fantastic. He plays open-handed. He is a left-handed drummer playing on a right-handed kit. So he's always playing with his left hand leading on that hi-hat that's on the left side of his kit. And his other hand has the facility of the entire drum set. So that's the good thing about open-handed. So you're saying, Glenn, why don't we all do that then? Well, I think there are reasons for that. And I think the main reason you could say is, so on a typical beat, for me, crossover, that's a typical beat, right? My dominant hand, my left hand, has to play 8 notes to a bar. My non-dominant hand is playing 2 notes to a bar. I think switching that is a more difficult thing, because that would mean my non-dominant hand is doing more of the work. So I think that's part of it. There are some other reasons. For a long time on drum sets, they weren't using hi-hats, they were just using cymbals, so you played this way anyway. So there's a lot of reasons that could be true, but you can tell that if you're playing open-handed, whether righty or lefty, it gives you more facility around the kit. Okay. I wish I had learned this earlier in my life. I think I would use it more. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't feel that comfortable doing it. I just don't feel that comfortable doing it. I don't feel that I'm that good at it. But Don't Stop Believing was the song that I kind of got introduced to. This open-handed idea was introduced to me through this song, and I worked on it to at least get some facility. And everything I teach, guys, everything I teach on this channel is not just to show you that song. Occasionally it is, and sometimes if a lot of other guys do it, I'll do it too. But it's mainly, what is the nugget of technique in that song that would be good to add to your arsenal? And if you're still a beginner or intermediate, I think it would be a good idea for you to learn open-handed, because I think if I was better at it, I would do it more. I would do it more. So Don't Stop Believing is one of those evolutionary grooves. That's why I love this tune. In other words, he starts out with a simpler version. As the song goes on, he gets more complicated and more complicated as it goes on. It gets more interesting and more interesting as he goes on. It is a 4-bar phrase. Bars 1 and 3, or 1 and 3, I don't know how you want to count it, are the same. The same. Now, there's a little cymbal trick he does in here, which is way cool and much more difficult. We're going to save that for the end. So, the basic groove, bars 1 and 3, we're going to put 8th notes on the hi-hat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and we're going to put 4 on the floor. Now, you got to be careful with this. This is why you got to get good at it. Because since your bass drum is now lining up with your non-dominant hand, there could be flamming. So you want to get these things together. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I don't do molar that much in my right hand here. I think if I had done this more, I would do molar in my right hand here more often. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I don't think it'd be right for this song, but I think I would just do it more in general. Okay, put that aside. All right, so you got 4 on the floor, you got 8s on the hi-hat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Now we're going to put 2 on the snare, and already we're beginning to use the rest of the kit. 4 on my rack tom. So here we go. Again, I'm doing this slow. The song is actually around 120, 122. And by the way, I think that's a good way to learn this. Don't try to conquer this all 4 bars at one time unless you think you're good enough to do that. I would get each bar down well, and then move on to the next bar. And then put them together. And that's how I'm going to do it. So let's do bar 2 now. All right, bar 2. A little more complicated. Now we're going to have 2 on the snare, the and of 3 on the rack tom, and of 4 on the floor tom. Watch. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again, so I have 4 on the floor, 8 on the hat, 2 on the snare, and of 3, and of 4. Remember, these go consecutively. Bar 3 is the same as bar 1. We're not going to talk about that now. Same as bar 1. 2 on the snare, 4 on the rack tom. Okay? Easy peasy. There is, in the last couple of choruses and verses, he adds something on the cymbal. We're going to get to that. That makes the song a lot harder. Okay, the last one, he does 2 on the snare, and he has more toms than I have on that kit that he uses, so he does some kind of and, 4, and. So it's and of 3, 4, and the and of 4. You could go and, 4, and. You can do this any way you'd like. You can do it on one drum, whatever you'd like. I hear the high and low. I go and, 4, and. So here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So, I'm going to put them all together nice and slow like that. Bar 1, 2 on the snare, 4 on the rack. Bar 2, 2 on the snare, and of 3, and of 4 on the rack. Bar 3, 2 on the snare, 4 on the rack. Bar 4, 2 on the snare, and the and of 3, and then 4 and the and of 4 on the floor tom or some other tom, and then, not all the time, but every 8 bars or so he adds a cymbal crash on 1. I'm going to do those 4 bars nice and slow. At the end of all the 4 bars, I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to end it up with that cymbal crash on 1, and then we're going to add that cymbal part. That even if I don't do this tune for a while, I have problems with that cymbal part. Okay, here we go. Here we go. You know, doing it open-handed with all that stuff going on in that groove, it's just hard to keep track of everything. And I think it's why I found this song so interesting and so challenging to play, because there's a lot going on. A lot going on. Hey guys, well, I had to come back the next day because that old cracked up cymbal, you know, it's got the bent up thing, and I couldn't get the little cymbal trick working right. So here I am on the next day, but I put on the same shirt for you. I don't know why. I don't really care all that much that it's the next day. Okay, so let's talk about that cymbal trick. Let's talk about it. Remember, this is a 4-bar phrase, and he is playing open-handed, so he does that cymbal trick with his dominant hand, and he's moving around the kit. Okay, so on bars 1 and 3, he plays the and of 3 on the bell. And I would put the counting, but after the 4-bar phrase, I would just be filled with counting and it would be more confusing. So I just want you to hear it and see it and learn it. So we've already done the first half, so let's add that first bar, which is also the 3rd bar. Remember, 2 is on the snare, 4 is on the rack. So nice and slow, here we go. I'm just going to keep doing bar 1 over and over. I'll count it for you. 1, 2, 3, Alrighty. That's bar 1 and bar 3. Bar 2 and 4, even though the toms are different, he does the cymbal part the same. He does 1 and. 1 and. So rather than do bar 2 and 4, I'm just going to do bar 2, which is the snare on 2, rack tom on the and of 3, and the floor tom on the and of 4. And the cymbal's going to be on 1 and. And remember, he doesn't do this the same way all the time. And he really only does this in the second half, and he really only does this on the chorus. On the chorus, okay? So I'm going to show you a hack in a second. So here you go. Here is bar 2. 1, 2, ready, go. And now I'm going to put them all together for you nice and slow. And I got to say, only Steve Smith would come up with this. He likes this kind of stuff. Whenever I tried to do all 4 bars like that, I would always end up forgetting something and repeating something the wrong way. It's just not where I'm wound. You know, I would have put together a 2-bar phrase. I'm good with that. It's just really cool. And here's the thing. I think because I'm not as good at playing open-handed, I just don't think it grooves as well when I do it with all of that stuff. So I end up usually doing just that bar 1 and 3 with that and of 3. And that's a good hack too. That's a good hack. Did I learn to do the other stuff? Yes. I don't think I do it as well, so I tend not to do it when I do it live. And I'm going to show you an even better hack that I did when I first learned it. So here we go. Here's the whole 4-bar phrase, the way Steve does it, but much slower. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. again. I guess it's my ADD, but I keep like losing my place in this groove. All right, this is why. Mix and match, do it the way you like. So as a hack, when I first learned it, and I was having trouble with all of the stuff, so I just played the choruses on the ride. And I just did bar 3. In other words, when I got to the last couple of choruses, I did this. I switched from the hat, and I put, instead of being open-handed, I went back to being left-hand lead, and I did this. And no one was any the wiser, and no one would be, and you can do whatever you want with the toms. You know, you can just keep it on one hand, you can take off your hand off the ride, but will that work for you if you got the call on Tuesday and you got to learn this for Saturday night? Yes, it will. Yes, it will. But as promised, I will see you on the next one. Let me do this at the recorded tempo, which is about 122, and it moves a little bit. It's anywhere between like 120 and 124. We're going to do it at 122. We're going to split the difference. I'm going to do it and take you out with this. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Mwah! 1, 2, 3, 4.